Hello, everyone. I'm Joe McGovern, awards reporter here at TheWrap, and we are happy to have you for our award screening of GANGUBAI KATHIAWADI with writer-director Sanjay, Leela, Bhansali. We're going to show you the trailer of the film first. Then we're going to go right into the conversation with our panelist, with Sanjay. And to our audience, please participate in the live chat of the stream and share your thoughts about the film and let us know where you're watching from. So now let's take a look at the trailer for GANGUBAI KATHIAWADI.
कहते हैं कमाटीपुरा में कभी अमावस की रात नहीं होती, क्योंकि वहां गंगू रहती है।
गंगू चांद थी और चांद ही रहेगी। इज्जत से जीने का, किसी से डरने का नहीं, ना पुलिस से, ना एमएलए से, ना मंत्री से, ना भड़वों से, किसी के बाप से नहीं डरने का। जमीन पे बैठी बहुत अच्छी लग रही है तू, आदत डाल ले, क्योंकि तेरी कुर्सी तो गई। मैं गंगूबाई, प्रेसिडेंट कमाटीपुरा। कुमारी आपने छोड़ा नहीं और श्रीमती कभी किसी ने बनाया ही नहीं।
Welcome back. It is my pleasure to welcome Sanjay, Leela, Bhansali to TheWrap to talk about this really marvelous, entertaining film. Congratulations on the film.
Thank you.
Thank you for joining us. And I guess for people who are tuning in, and some of them might be watching this and seeing it as your first film. Of course, it's not. You've made so many going back decades. So I'm curious to ask you, not to explain your whole career, but maybe explain where this film came from in a continuum with your other work going back, 20, 30 years.
That's the exciting part of Gangubai, because it's not in anything that I've done before.
Yeah.
And the idea of doing something completely different from those big canvas, big spectacles, big costume dramas. I have made intimate films before called Black and Guzarish, but this one suddenly comes out of the blue because I had finished Padmavat and I wanted to do something more intimate, more closer. This was a film that I had written before a film called Leela, 10 years ago. That's when I had read the novel. That's when I had written the screenplay already, because it just flowed. I love the novels, the story so much, and I love the characters so much. And then after Padmavat, after 10 years, I decided that I've done enough of big scale films, sweeping spectacles. I'd rather get something intimate. So this is, I think, the beginning of a new chapter for me, starting of a new process of filmmaking for me. I've enjoyed it immensely. So I found that I could handle this intimate, up close film of a girl, a story of a girl, and I could reach it to people. It was nice. It was different.
So you mentioned the novel, and it's based on a book called Mafia Queens of Mumbai by S. Hussain Zadi, and I think is it 12 or 13 stories?
This one, Gangubai, is a short story in that book called Mafia Queens, where he spoke about various mafia queens, and Gangubai is one of them. Yeah,
and she was a real person. I mean, you can see her photographs. You can look her up. I think both the novel and the film, do what films and novels do, which is tell her story in a more of a visual way. But do you want to maybe just explain who she was and how much were you aware of her before first reading the book and then, of course, getting into do the film?
Not aware at all of her existence. It's only when I picked up the book and I read all the stories, and Gangubai stayed with me. So when I called up Hussain Zaidi, the writer, I said, and I want to buy the rights of this particular story. He was very shocked. He said, this is the darkest story amongst them all. There are many other stories. I thought you'd pick that one, pick that one. I said, no, I want Gangubai, and that's it. So I didn't know anything about her. I only know that I lived one lane away from where she lived. For 30 years of my life, I was living in the next lane where she lived. I was living very close to the brothels in Mumbai, in the craggy lanes of Mumbai, the downtown. Um, and I would pass by these brothels every day. But as a child, I think she passed away in 1970s. In the 70s, she
Mhm.
passed. I had no idea that she existed. When I read the book and I said, I know this world, but I didn't know this character existed and that she fought for all these women that I passed by every day. She walked through these lanes of that I go through the school to the school every day. And all that I found about her wearing white, her fighting for the women, her being cheated and betrayed. When I read, I don't know why, but I cried for 5 minutes because it just moved me immensely. Her story of a woman who just didn't know where to go, didn't know what to do, trapped by in the most difficult of circumstances, being abused, being humiliated, and how she used all those things that she went through to life to stimulate her to go into and fight for the rest of the women who had no voice. Their voices were stifled, like you saw in the first opening scene of the film.
Yeah.
The small girl is being put into the thing, and they put a handkerchief in her mouth and they pierce the nose, and her stifled cries. Those were the cries of the women who were there. She becomes the voice. So I feel that I didn't need to know her. I knew her soul somehow. After reading the book, I've never felt so close to any of my characters as I have felt to Gangubai. I felt I knew her. I knew her soul. I had conversations with her soul. I really believe that we were friends when I was making the film.
Wow.
Yeah.
Since you've made the film, how much have you noticed her impact? People, coming up to you, or people you've corresponded with, or just the fact that here's this person who was not forgotten, but somewhat her impact had been not as widely well known.
The impact of what she fought for was
Yeah.
finally, the judgment came in last year, which obviously prostitution didn't get legalized, but all that she fought for them being a part of civil society, to get all the rights that other women would get, education for their illegitimate children, a place in the hospitals where normal people would go, everything that she fought for, she got almost 50 years after her fight and after she's left the world. Her impact is tremendous, I think, on the people who saw the film. And then they realized that here was an unsung hero, somebody who worked for the lives of those people who we don't care about, we don't even bother about. We go voyeuristically, look at them standing in the cages, maybe go as clients sometimes, and come back, and we don't think about them, of what they go through. So a lot of people finally became aware of. Yes, that there are masihas that are born even in a small craggy brothel area, and it's good to know that there could be people who live for other people,
Yeah.
and I think that resonated very nicely with the people. I think they all loved Gangubai. She also went up to Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru, the prime minister of the country then,
Yeah.
asked for legalization. That was bold, that was courageous, and all this, Joe, at the time when the word women empowerment had not been coined. She did it at a time when women were not heard. Their issues were never issues at all for the world. Here was a woman who said she was intelligent, she was witty, she was sharp. And all that finally reached people today and said, yeah, I mean, we all should be a part of this whole campaign that she started. So, yeah, it's nice that I've reached her story to the world, not only to people in India, but to people all over the world, people, Indians living abroad, and to be proud of a citizen that lived in our country.
Yes, of course. Also, the film is very entertaining, very colorful, very visual, very musical, and we're going to talk about that in a minute. But also, the audience really understands the great risks and the great danger that she faced in what she was doing. And how important was that for you to not diminish that part of the story? You know.
I've not understood what you were asking.
Well, I mean, the fact is that despite how entertaining the film is, we still really understand that there was a great danger and
She
you know
lived.
her life was at risk frequently.
Yeah, yeah. But I feel that even dark stories, dark subjects, dark characters, they all have a moment to smile, to celebrate, to laugh, and I attributed Gangu as much happiness as I could as a filmmaker, which God may have not attributed to her destiny and written in her destiny. So I wanted her to be filled with sunshine. Her brothel was always lit with light. She would sing and dance. She would have witty one-liners. She was known to be a great conversationalist. She was a great gambler. She also joined hands with Karim Lala, the underworld don at that point, and worked on illicit liquor because she wanted money to fight for the girls, to provide them as much as she could.
Yeah.
But all that in spite of the fact that a lot of people question me and said, but they're laughing too much, they're smiling too much, they're enjoying so much. I said, why not?
Yeah.
Even if their circumstances are dark, as long as you've understood the story, as long as you've understood their suffering, as long as you've understood what they go through, I'm not depriving them of the right to dance on a festival, or to laugh, or to crack up jokes, or to go to a movie, or to write imaginary letters to their parents. These are small joys which I wanted to grant Gangu. I wanted to grant that, yes, she was face challenged with Razia, the eunuch that who came as a big opposition to her. But those men in her life, she had a right to fall in love. I wanted Gangu to fall in love, and the tailor boy character that we created, and the fact that she sacrifices him for a larger cause.
Mhm.
All that was, I found that chapter of her love story the most beautiful, and I enjoyed every minute of shooting it, because every time Gangu would smile, I would feel elated, and I genuinely connected with the character so much, like you would with your own child, like you would want your own person in the house to smile and be happy. And that songs that I did, obviously, if you remember the Garba, the one shot where she goes round and
Yes.
round, that is celebration, that is laughing and singing. But that is when she decides that I'm going to cut off ties with my mother, because that dance is actually is for the mother goddess. When you dance in Navratri, in the Garba form, in the going round in the circle, that is for the goddess. And that is a time when she renounces all her ties with her actual mother. She realizes she's never going to become a mother. She realizes she's going to become a mother for all these women over here, and going to now fight as the mother goddess invokes that energy in you. So
Yeah.
all the song dances were just not entertainment. I think there was a lot of subtext to it. There was a lot of uh, uh, things to be understood, and I think there were lots of layers to it.
Absolutely, and there's actually a couple shots that I even want to ask you about in a minute. But first, we do need to talk about your lead actress, Leela. And I know you've told a story that I want you to retell about how you met her when she was really a child. I mean, she's an adult, and she's just getting more famous every single year now. I mean, she's huge.
I
But
met her when she was 9 years old. I was
yeah,
casting a film with her and Ranbir. She's married to Ranbir Kapoor now. And she came in 9 years old, and I saw those eyes. It was for a child character in a film called Black that I'd made. And I said, this girl is a heroine. This girl is a leading actor. She's not a child actor, because her eyes spoke so much as a child also. And she kept looking at me, and she used all her mind to tell me that, look, I think I'm a great actor. You have to work with me, etc. quietly. And then I didn't cast her as a heroine. Obviously, that got left behind. I went on with my work. She went on with hers. And then when I called her to play Gangu, she says, no, I want to do a big dance spectacle like your other films are. I want to be in Mastani. I want to be in Padmavati. I said,
yeah,
no, I'm casting you in Gangu. And I said, you're a little Bandra girl from upper class, but I think you're ready to play this character. So she said, how do I play? I've never been to a brothel. I've never been there. I said, don't go. You just believe in me, trust in me, because I know you have a certain emotional violence in you. You have a certain strength about you. You have a certain look that is so powerful. And she's an amazing actor. And I think the trust that we had with each other, that she trusted me, I trusted her with a role that she was not prepared to play at all. I said,
yeah.
you have to trust me, because I'm seeing you in that role, and I'm seeing nobody else. And she's saying, I'm not seeing myself in this role. So there came the point. And I said, what is nice is that you are doing something you have never done before. I'm making a film I've never made before. So two of us are going to be in an uncharted territory. We are going to be in unknown land, and it'll be nice that we'll explore each other's potential. We'll tap deep into our sides, inside ourselves, to actually find how talented or how good we are. So I said, just come along. And I enjoyed working every minute with her. She's a wonderful girl. She's now become a mother of a child. She's just had a baby, and wonderful actor that I've worked with.
She's great. I mean, and all the way up until the very last shot of the film, it's really her face that tells so much of the story. I wanted to ask, because actually the man that she falls in love with, but ultimately, she sort of does sacrifice that relationship, which is a difference than from a lot of other films in which the female lead is rewarded with the romance at the end. And here it's a reverse of that. It's very, very smart. He is making is it his film debut?
Yes.
And so he's known on television, right?
Yeah. My mother saw him on television one day. It was in a dance reality show. And his mom called me and said, come, you're going for work. I said, come and see this. This boy is good. He's a good dancer. I just looked at him. I said, okay, mom, you enjoy the show. I'm going. And then when I was casting, I realized I remembered him. I said, that boy that my mother showed me, let's call Shantanu. So when he walked into the office, and I said, yeah, that's the tailor boy that I want. He is just perfect for the role. I'm very instinctive and I'm intuitive when I cast.
Yeah.
So that's how I took him on. Yeah.
He's wonderful. He's very natural. They have a really nice charisma together on screen. And I want to ask, because, as all of us are, I'm such a fan of directors who use long takes. And there are several shots in here that are a minute long, 2 minutes long. Yeah. And some of them, as you just said before, are very elaborate. But one of the most simple, it's really just one camera setup, is in the back of the car with the two of them. And it's Mary John is the name of the song that we hear. I think I clocked it. It's about 4 minutes long. Yeah. It's terrific. And if you can maybe talk about your philosophy about filming and how that's grown over the years. You seem to favor long takes more now, and also how that scene, that shot in the back of the car there, came to be for the film.
The song was actually supposed to be picturized in a club.
Yeah.
Where she goes and meets Dev Anand, that film star that she had come to see and act with. In the film, if you remember, there's a mention of the great Indian actor called Dev Anand in the film, and she was crazy about Gangubai was crazy. So there was a scene in the party where they were supposed to meet, and I said, no, bunk it all. I just want to do a moment of hers in the car. So everybody said, okay, fine. Then we took master shot and we rehearsed the whole scene. I said, one shot. They said there is a scene before the song and it goes on. I said, yeah, we'll do it in one shot. The idea of seeing two people interact, their chemistry evolve. If the minute I cut, I lose it's the director's perspective of seeing his close up, then her close up, then a two shot. It's boring and it's just lifeless. It's pointless. I want to see two people interact. What is happening to him when she's putting the leg on his lap? What is happening her when he's kissing the toe? What is happening to her? And that just went on. And I was improvising, and it took 3 takes. They were petrified, the two actors. They said, this is just never ending, and how do we sustain it? And 3 takes, they were very good when they would make a mistake right at the end, and we'd have to start all over again. But I thought, and that was the last shot of the film. We ended our shooting with that, and I said, you guys are now ready to do a shot like that. It is important for me not to cut, because I feel cutting, I'm an editor myself, and I understand the importance of editing in a film. But these are moments that need to be done in one shot. She talks to her mother on the phone. Which she speaks to the mother after 12 years or 14 years. It's one shot. She said, but how can I do it in one shot? I said, please do it. I said, I'm not cutting. I'm not making that moment impure. I want to see exactly what is happening to you second by second as the conversation with the mother progresses. The minute I cut, I'm manipulating those emotions. I'm impure. It's not pure to, in moments like these, to do it with cuts. So I've started slowly moving towards single shots, which I've started enjoying, which my actors don't enjoy at all, because they my cameraman and they all are saying, no, we should cut. I said, no, we're not cutting. And that shot is one of my favorites in the car, because it starts there. And by the time with all the foreplay that is happening before they would actually have gone and made love in the car. It ends up with her saying, "Just pat my head because nobody has touched my head with love for years. I'm deprived of that human touch. When a client comes, he just sleeps with me and goes." But that purity of that touch, which I want somebody to feel my head with, I think that moment where it landed into. So she was elated when she saw the footage on the edit table, and she said, "How well we've done it." I said, "Yeah, yeah, but how well I have done it." So we were all playing each other. But yeah, it was a difficult moment, and for her to come to that point, the face changing all the way right from foreplay and fooling and teasing to that one poignant moment of she says, "Just feel my head, don't touch me anywhere else."
Yeah.
That is where that Alia as an actor is what's to be able to get it all right to the rightest of millimeters. And I think it is fabulous on her part to have achieved.
Oh, it's so good. And we in the audience can be the editor, right? We can look
Yeah,
back and
right.
forth. So I'm interested in that you decided you knew that that shot was important enough to hold it until the very end of filming, which is fascinating as a directorial insight, you know. But then how else did you deal with the shooting schedule? And I know you had to have COVID interrupt the filming as well. But to make sure that you were accommodating for the actors, like do you shoot out of sequence so that some of the easier stuff is done first?
No, no, no. We were just going by instinct in terms of what we want to do and how will she start getting into the character and what will she do. So I started off straight away first with the first day that she's putting powder on her face
Yeah.
and those girls over there. And the minute I got that shot, and my idea was to have paintings like compositions all through, and then let the paintings and the characters start moving, and you start realizing, okay, so if the girls are standing out on the road asking for clients, the first time she goes and stands outside, it had to look like a painting for me. For me, those are my childhood impressions of what I saw every day when I passed school. So we were told at that time, my mother would be, because sometimes accompanying me, she says, "Keep your head down, don't look left, don't look right. We are passing through the brothel, don't look up." It took me years finally to now finally look up and have my own perspective and said, now I've looked into that place and now I'm telling the story. But they were all paintings that I wanted to move. There, if you see, a lot of my frames started off looking like paintings, and then they would start moving. That was the whole idea behind doing it, because I did not want to treat the dark, sordid world like a dark, sordid, realistic world. There was a certain magical realism kind of an approach to the whole thing. And that is why it works on the audiences. It reaches the audience in a way that, yes, this world we have never seen. The director is treating it in a certain way. So now we are participating in it. Otherwise, if I made it very realistic and very casual and very, then it would have not created the effect that I wanted to as a child of what I experienced in the brothels. So I think I've meandered from your question. I've gone way away from
No,
what you...
actually, you haven't. You led me into the something I wanted to talk about, which was the visual style. It is a bright film, you know, and I know that in your big hit from about 20 in Devdas from 20 years ago, you had a brothel in that film too, which I think was a little different than this one. But can you talk about the production design? Almost the whole film takes place on just one block, you know, in the city, in the red light district. Was it all built from scratch? Did you rely on images and notes and things, photos of the time?
Of course, we went to a lot of, because I told you I lived there, so
Yeah.
I knew the area completely. I took my production designer, my cinematographer. We referenced which other area lines and which other buildings that we like, which is the old 1900, 1890, those kind of structures that are still existing over there.
Yeah.
We picked up the theaters that we liked a lot. Those were the posters. The poster art was a very important part of the art direction. Old calendar arts put on the walls, actors' photographs. It was a set made in a studio in Mumbai. Completely, it was a flat ground on which we created this place. The texturing and the coloring and the detailing that went into it made it look absolutely real, and yet there was again a magical quality to it where it is a little unreal. It's very accessible. I thought that the brothel, when you walk into, one gets a little intimidated by the by the energies of the place, by the violence of the place, by the anger that vibe that resonates in the place. I wanted this place to be very accessible. So if anybody in the world saw it, they say, "Yeah, I like being in this place. I
Yeah.
wanted Kamatipura to be like I want to be there." And every time I walked into the set, I felt like I was walking back home. It was like me going back to my childhood, me going back to my perspective, and
Mhm.
therefore the whole watercolor painting kind of an overall visual effect to it is my impression of those buildings. So we also located the area of the building where Gangubai actually lived, the round building in which she lived, and we created that along with some buildings that I was very fond of, and posters of my father's film also I had put in one corner. So it was a set that was filled with even the house interiors. It had a lot of vessels which I felt like were in my house. So it
Yes.
was homecoming for me. And the production design, and for example, every curtain, the floral curtains that I put, was the garden I created for these girls. They never went to a garden. They never had flowers in their lives. They never thought, they would never have seen butterflies fluttering around. They were deprived of so many simple, magical things that make life beautiful. So
Yeah.
I added floral curtains to them, printed backdrops. Their clothes were all floral. So the art director and the costume designer, the production designer, costume designer worked in tandem to create that effect of just flowers all around. And then they would put a flower in their head, and the makeup came into it. And
Mhm.
it was very garish makeup they put. If you look at these women, they try and cover all their suffering through putting dark lipstick and eyeshadows, and they get uglier by the minute, but they do not realize that. They feel this is the way to lure the client. They feel that they have now succumbed and to their destiny, and not constantly paint their face. And if that is what you want, I'm going to stand here and by the door in my cage and put all that makeup and call you and entice. So that all that suffering to all the beauty that I grant them, it is all muddled in my head. I cannot actually put it on how I visually treated the film and what dignity I wanted to give these sex workers, of all the beauty and accessibility that I wanted to give the audience to come into this world, so that they hear the story and not get intimidated by it. They feel accessible to the people. So otherwise, I would have not been able to reach the story.
Yes, yes. Very well done. We mentioned Mary John, the song that we hear when the two are in the car. Do you want to also just speak more about the music in the film? How involved you are in the writing of it, and the choosing of it, and of course how important it is to tell the story.
For me, very important.
Yeah.
I conceive the film first with a song. So any song from the past, it could be any song from, it could be a Louis Armstrong song, it could be a Billie Eilish song, it could be a famous Hindi song, it could be anything. It could be a rag, a classical based piece. Something triggers off, and then I feel it connects me to Gangu. And then I first make a song. So when I started, I was bathing, and suddenly I sang Meri Jaan, Meri Jaan, Meri Jaan. And I said, no, I've got the song. I've got the song. I really felt so happy about it. And then I made the card song. If you remember the song where they play cards. She's in the building and he's down,
Mhm.
and they play cards across the street. That was another song that I made. The Garba came in very naturally to me. It's very important in part of my expression. I have been. Uh, my music is nothing great. It is very simple. It is like folk music. You can sing, I can sing. It's not complicated. It's not deeply written. It is not a connoisseur, a person who is a musician, a pure musician. I'm not. I'm a folk singer. I'll just sing a song. So my songs get very popular in the country because everybody can sing it, and they're not. But the background score is done by another person. The background score was done by Sanchit Balara, and my brief film was very simple. I wanted a wail of a woman, see deep down from far, not even up close, in the distance, if I could hear it. And he made a beautiful theme before I started shooting. He made because I wanted to hear the theme all the time. And we used the claps of the eunuchs, because eunuchs normally clap in our country. If you've seen Razia Bai clap, if you remember so
Yeah.
that sound of the clap, and a lot of distant radio, constant music playing in the brothels. It
Mhm.
was all the time playing whenever I passed by. Cafes would be blaring loud Hindi film songs, radio transistors constantly. A mixture of 10, 15 songs would be something. So those we try to design. But I thought I was very happy with the songs I made. Dolida, the Garba song was very nice. The first song, Jumere Gori, which she does before she comes to Bombay.
Yeah.
I really like the music of the film. I'm sorry, but I'm
No,
praising myself. But yeah, but music is a very integral part of my work. Because of the theme, I found a certain flow in the rhythm to my edit, through how the camera would move, because it was constantly playing. I never shoot without music playing on my set. It could be a classical song, it could be a jazz piece by Miles Davis. Something is playing on my set as we are preparing for a shot. Because I find the stimulant, that is my way to bring peace to my chaotic mind. That's the way I sum up all the energies that are exploding, and then I find a rhythm to move the camera or to make the characters move or to edit pattern that flows. Without music, I cannot survive. I cannot make a film. So
And even
music, very.
even Billie Eilish, as you say.
I mean, all sorts. I listen to a lot of old classical um, Thumri singers in India. And sometimes when I'm going for shooting, I'll hear Imagine Dragons. Out of the blue counterpoint, I don't know why I listen to them. I don't know what it is. I may not even understand the lyrics of it because I'm always most of the time flaked out. I'm only living with Gangu. The idea, that shot that I'm going to do, that moment that I have to land into, those eyes have to capture, that little breath I have to capture. So my mind is constantly stimulated with any kind of music, because music is at the end of it music. It doesn't matter if it's connected to the film or not. But yeah, music is everything for me.
So just a couple more questions for you. I not really a spoiler, but I want to talk about the ending. I just want to bring it up to say that she's standing alone there on the back of a car. The streets, there's confetti falling down, and she acknowledges a couple of the men, you know, the in the crowd, but she stands alone there in the last shot, which I feel is very important for as the ending of this film. You know, she's higher up. She's done it herself. How crucial was that for you to, as you were developing even the film and writing it and figuring out how you wanted to tell the story, that in the end we were going to see her up there by herself?
Right at the time when I read the novel, and the novel doesn't have this, the story doesn't, it's not a novel, it's a short story.
Yeah.
The story doesn't have this ending, but I wanted to celebrate her.
Yeah.
It was my way of telling Gangubai's soul that now you do not worry, I have reached your fight, all that you spoke for, all that you fought. Why will I pick up that story? Why did I connect my soul so much to the story? Why did I cry when I read the story? Why did I was always moved and always elevated and always on a higher plane when I'm writing the screenplay or executing the scenes or coming to a moment? Because I realized that I'm very close to her. I understood her soul and I wanted her soul to leave this real world. It is abstract thought. It could be laughed at, it could be whatever. But I wanted to let her soul know that you have now finally been heard. You are now looked upon as a goddess in a way. You are going to be worshipped, because all of Kamatipura always had her photograph in every brothel and every cage and every building. They
Yeah.
had always a photograph of Gangubai, and they always put a garland because they worshipped her. And I wanted to give her that pedestal of being on as a goddess to be looked upon. And I felt very happy shooting that scene.
Yeah.
And in the last shot, if you realize, she looks right into the camera as she comes
Yes.
very close. And it was her way of saying thank you for everything. And please continue the fight. And there were so many layers that I was in my own world thinking and my own mind thinking. You may not register it. But I thought there was no better end for a woman who has seen the worst. I think no human being should go through this. There are so many girls who go through this kind of abuse and humiliation and torture. Even right now, as we are speaking, there is somebody going to be somewhere in so many parts of the world. It's going on. So it's just that this was a befitting end, a proper end to this woman. It was cinema. It was quiet. I didn't want words. I didn't want anything else. I just wanted her and the white paper. That place, which was always dark, that place, and if you realize, there was a scene I did of different kinds of white. She says, I'm buying white sari, but which white? The white of the smoke that my father used to smoke? of the cigar, or white of the desert, the salt desert that was there in Gujarat where she came from? Or was it the white of the milk that mother fed me every day? Or was it the white of the newspaper that my father read? There were so many, and then the lover says it's the white of the swan. And that night, the last image was the white paper. That was Ganguwala white. That was the white of Gangu Kathiawadi. So I found another white for her, named on her in my mind. So I think that was a nice way to end a very magical end to her.
Very, yeah, very, very, very beautiful, and it means a lot. So this film has been seen, of course, by so many people already, and will continue to keep being seen. What's been the best part for you now in this, having it out there in the world and being seen, in terms of the reaction that you've received? Really good reviews, but also audience reaction. I'm curious.
Oh, I've met very few people here to be able to understand the audience reaction. In my country, it was stupendous.
Yeah.
It was a mainstream film. It was a mainstream actor who's a very big film star, Galia. We've suddenly broken all the rules and made a film, and which a lot of people thought people will not come into this film. It doesn't have the makings of a mainstream masala Bollywood film, and yet we very brazenly went ahead and did what we had to do. We didn't want to compromise. And I said, no, the audience will always come for a good film. And they did. The audience will always love a good film. And they did. They came twice, thrice to see the film.
Yeah.
And even now in the streets of London, when I walk and I meet a few people, Indians especially, they really come and hug me and say, we thank you for making Gangubai, and we love it so much. And I've seen it 3 times and I've seen it 2 times. Oh, there's so much love. The fact that here is a story of a woman that would have never been told, that would have never been made into a film, where the writer himself says, but this is not a great story to make a film on.
Right.
And then finally it just reaches people everywhere. I think it's so wonderful and makes you believe that we in our minds say, oh, people will not want this. We don't make films for people. We make a film for ourselves, and then people will like it, not like it is another story. We make it for them to be seen, a work of art has to be seen. But you can't preempt their reviews, and if they love it, if they'll come for it before you've made it. So I think fearlessly I made this film without the trappings of what will happen at the box office. It'll happen if it has to happen. But the love that I'm getting, I'm feeling very good. And even if I don't get any great reaction, as long as people see the film, as long as one more person has seen the film and goes past by quietly without saying a word to me, it's okay. He doesn't have to praise me, he doesn't have to hate me, he doesn't have to hate the film, doesn't have to praise the film, only to experience it. That's the joy of making a film. That come, see the film and go. It doesn't matter whether you like or you don't like. So I've always...
And also, what I imagine is really gratifying is those people who come up to you and say, I've seen it 2 or 3 times. They might be in large part going there because of the music and the visuals, but they're also getting the story.
Yeah.
And they're, it's a story that is challenging. It's saying that this woman fought for basically human rights in a way that we are still, as you mentioned, still today dealing with.
The one thing that reached them was the ease with which he said dignity of labor. You're a teacher, you're a journalist, you're a doctor, you're a lawyer, I'm a sex worker. I'm going to say that as openly as that. Let me come into a cafe and say to anybody, she goes to the school and tells the journalist friend of hers, you're a journalist, I'm a sex worker. That abandon and that pride with which she said, whatever I'm doing, I will do it with my full commitment. I will do it with the right way. I'm not going to be ashamed of what I'm going to be doing. I need to be paid for what I'm doing, and I need acceptance for what I'm doing. So that was what reached people. They said, with the ease with which he said, you normally hide your profession if you're a sex worker or you're doing something which is not normally acceptable to civil society. You normally try to hide, camouflage, disguise. She said, no. Whatever you are, you accept yourself completely. That is what reached people in my country. And they said, we've never seen this before. We've never understood a sex worker would always cry or say, the world, or she will hide from nothing. She says, why am what I am? Now give me my rights. I'll give my children education. I'm a sex worker. and I serve society. I want you to legalize profession. Don't look down upon us, because I will look down upon you. Her last speech in Azad Maidan, which she made in 1950s, is the last speech that we had in the film, where
Mhm.
she's. That was one of the most talked about speeches for a long time, because nobody had ever put up those arguments and debates, and there were no women organizations to prop her up or to stand by her. Instead, on the stage, she was always scoffed at, but she fearlessly went. I mean, if she was here alive, I would have just gone and give her the biggest hug that she could have ever gotten in her life, because here was a woman that you need to respect, and respect in the right way. So they respected Gangubai in my country. They loved Gangubai because they said, yeah, we've never seen a character like this. We've
Yeah.
seen all kinds of characters, but we've not seen this one who is a witty woman. She's not all pure. She's dark. She knows when to manipulate. She knows when to sacrifice you for the larger effect. So
Mhm.
she played the game with the lover that she had, and she sacrificed him and chucked him out, but for a larger cause. But for important things, she went up to Nehru without any fear to sit in front of a prime minister and say legalize prostitution. I mean, she needed to be patted on her back, and um, if she was alive, she would have done many, many more things. So
Yeah.
I think it has all reached people. In spite of it not being a mainstream film, they accepted it as a mainstream film. It did stupendous business over there at the
Yeah.
box office. So I think all said, I think it was a very victorious moment for us.
Well, and so the last question is about you. You know, here you are, 2 or 3 decades into your career. You're a filmmaker. You're in your 50s, and you've challenged yourself here to try something kind of new. What's the next phase, do you think? I mean, what are the other things in your career? Because you're only in the middle. You know, I mean, you have a long ways to go. And what's the other? What are the other things you haven't done yet? Can
I have
you?
not done a comedy. I have not.
Uh-huh.
It's very difficult. I find humor very difficult,
Mm.
challenging. I have not had the courage to get over there, because that is yet to be found. Or I really don't know. I've never planned my career.
Yeah.
If you realize, I've started my career with Khamoshi. It's about a girl who sings born to deaf parents and hearing impaired parents, let me put it more politely. Uh, right from there, which was not conventional, a theme to be made in India, which similarly, like it's a theme similar to Coda, which won the Oscar last year.
Yeah.
Where a girl who sings and is born to hearing impaired parents, that I made in '96. But I've always been unconventional. I just pick up a story. I was going to make Gangubai before Ram Leela and Bajirao Mastani. And then I suddenly decided to make this, and no, put it as I'm not ready for it. My mind is not ready for it. And let me see if Gangubai stays with me for all these 10 years. So there are many subjects in my file which I've started, written, kept it aside, and see if those characters refuse to get buried in a bookshelf, or in a storage, and they keep popping out.
Yeah.
So I'll wait for those characters to again pop up, but I really don't know what I'll make. I'll start Gangubai and I make Ram Leela. I'm doing Inshallah and I suddenly make Gangubai. So I'm a very unpredictable person and an unpredictable filmmaker. And I think that's how it goes. I don't know.
Yeah, and it seems like you take challenges. I mean, you've directed an opera.
Yeah.
You know, so whatever is next, we'll look forward to it, though. And
Yeah.
so I want to congratulate you again on this wonderful film, and thank you so much for joining us today. And thanks everybody else for joining us. And in order to keep up with upcoming Wrap screenings and events, be sure to take advantage of our free trial to Wrap Pro. And you can catch up on any past screenings you may have missed by visiting TheWrap.com and the screening tab on the homepage. Thanks, everybody.